Welcome to CLODAGH'S Fall Suppers. I'm going to show you how to make my chocolate orange biscottis, which are delicious and crumbly because I put ground almonds into it and then zest of orange going through, dipped in chocolate. I love serving them after supper with a nice cup of coffee, but also alongside ice cream as well. And they're also great if you're going to somebody's house for supper as an edible homemade gift. So have a look at the ingredients below and join me in the kitchen. So these are all the ingredients that you need for my chocolate orange biscottis. I've got flour, ground almonds, unsalted good quality butter, orange extract, baking powder, fresh oranges, eggs, chocolate, and caster sugar. So the first thing I do is mix together the caster sugar and the eggs in my mixing bowl. Caster sugar, 2 eggs. I use good quality ingredients in all my cooking, and the butter is really important to me as well. So I use Kerrygold. The milk for the butter is from cows that are outdoor reared and grass-fed, happy cows, healthy butter, clean food. Next, I'm adding in my orange extract, a teaspoon. So just tip in the ground almonds while it's still mixing. Next, I'm going to zest in my 2 fresh oranges, and this will give it a really fresh flavour. So you always get a lighter result when you sieve in the flour and your rising agent, which is baking powder here. And the last thing is juice in your orange. What I usually do when I'm making a cake or a biscuit or biscotti batter is I stop it, and then with a spatula I take all the batter from the side, from the bottom, give it a good churn, turn it back on again for another minute, and then we're good to mold it out. So before I take the biscottis out of the mixer, I'm going to take off my rings, clean my hands, and I'm going to mold it out into a log. So I'm going to flour my surface. So your batter onto the floured surface, and then I'm going to shape it into a log. And then I wash my hands with flour, so it's really easy to work with the dough. So pop your log onto a floured surface. So I'm using gluten-free flour, so these are gluten-free biscottis. The flour I find with the gluten-free is always so fine that the batter or the dough what you're working with always tends to be a little bit more moist. I'm going to bake this in a preheated oven for a half an hour, then I'm going to take it out and slice them, turn them over and put them back in, so they get baked 3 times, because then we turn them over again once they're baked on one side. So the biscotti have been baking for 25 minutes. And what I'm going to do here now, just make sure, it's coming off nicely. And so what I'm doing here is cutting out the slices of the biscottis. And then when they're all cut, I'm going to turn them on their sides and put them back into the oven again. So I'm slicing them up into strips. And then next, I just turn them over on their sides. Be gentle when you're turning them over because they're only half baked. Okay, so they're all turned and sliced. They go into the oven for 10 minutes, and then I take them out, turn them over and back into the oven for another 10 minutes. So they've been in baking for 10 minutes, and then I'm just going to turn them one last time, that they bake on the other side. They're so hot. So this is the second turn I'm going to do. I'm taking a couple out just so I have enough room to turn them. And so I just want to, they're very hot. You have to be quite careful because they're still a bit crumbly. If they break, it doesn't matter, we just make them into half ones. Like these are broken, so I'm going to make them into half one. That one's going to be a half one. Thing is, not to sweat about it. They'll still taste great. And then they go back into the oven again for another 10 minutes. And then we're going to dip them in chocolate and put lovely orange zest on top. And then they're ready to be eaten. So the biscottis are done. And then I'm going to transfer these guys onto a cooling rack, let them cool completely. Then I'm going to dip them in chocolate and orange zest. Hooch! A couple couple of them are broken up, the ones that were really big, so I'm going to make those into small little biscottis. And then when they're completely cooled, I'm going to dip them in beautiful dark chocolate and put orange zest on top. So the biscottis have completely cooled, and I've melted my dark chocolate. I use 70% cocoa solids or higher. And then what I do is when I'm doing the biscottis is I pour the melted chocolate into a glass. It's so much easier to dip into. So you dip in your biscottis, leave it there for a second or two. Nice. And twirl it around until it's completely stopped. And then you pop it back down onto the rack. Just let it set. So we want to do half chocolate on each biscotti. Now I'm going to finish them off with some lovely orange zest. If you'd like to make them, which of course you would, and the recipe is below, and there's also a link to subscribe. And I'll see you next week. I'm not sure I can wait for these to set, so I'm just going to chomp in, but I'm going to say goodbye first. So,